Hard times build character.
This isn't just a show, this is real life. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
You gotta see it before anyone else can see it.
Every second, every minute, every day.
We train for life. We got you.
And welcome back, everybody. Episode number 2, season 3 of the Relentless Way podcast. Paul Alvear here with my longtime partner and friend Matt Strout. And we have an awesome guest here that joined us today. We were just talking pre-show how it took 3 seasons to get here, but we are here. Always connected. That's the best part about it. We have Alexa Stimpfel, owner of the Shoe Fairy. Today's episode title is How the Shoe Fairy Got Her Wings. A little fun one for you. Alexa's going to bring some great energy. We know that. We already had some really, really good conversation before hopping on the mics and on the camera here. But we are very excited. I just want to give a little kind of a little lead up to kind of set the stage for those of you that don't know Alexa. She, for myself, I grew up playing baseball with her brothers, with Sean specifically. Spent a lot of time in the summers. We lived around the block from each other with her brothers, so was able to watch her grow, and we reconnected even though we were at different schools. So Matt and I, grew up on one side of Jackson, and actually we were on the same side but different schools eventually. But we reconnected at Relentless, and what brought you into Relentless?
I moved to Freehold.
Right.
I moved to Freehold, and at that point, I wanted to talk to younger business owners.
Yes.
And so I think I knew of you guys, I think probably through my brothers and on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I feel like this is the type of energy I need. And obviously, I work out too.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm going to go to Relentless. This seems like a cool vibe, young, hungry people. And that's how it all started.
Yeah. And that's her to a T, definitely. A lot of, from early on, I think. How long has the Shoe Fairy been operating now?
Since 2015.
So about 7, 8 years, right?
It's been a little over 6.
A little over 6,
Yeah,
cool.
It was towards the end of 2015. I was 23.
Cool. So when we moved to Freehold, it was 2013. It was soon after that we reconnected. And at that point, I mean, even to this day, we're always still trying to figure things out and grow. And the one thing I could point out, and Matt could attest to too, is just the numerous conversations that, whether it was before class, after a boxing session with yourself, or before, whenever it was, or just giving a call, shooting a text. We always had great conversation on the life and business end of things, you know, and both of us, both ways, questions. I mean, I reached out the other day, asked her a question about Instagram. And I mean, like, commonly, if we really look back, it's so often, because she's a relentless person. She, to the core, always fit in with the community, and that's why we have her here today, right?
Yeah, I mean, what she said of the reason why she came is exactly, the mission of Relentless is to connect either with like-minded people or people who are looking to take themselves to that next level. So what she said is 100% true, and I think when she refound us and we refound each other, it was right. She used the word energy, which we talk a lot about, and I think that's super crucial, especially for the way that she said it, as being a young, and not even, I'm going to say this first, but being a young entrepreneur, right? But then just being a young human in the world. Like, the world's crazy, So I feel like when you are starting to attack into the jungle, I like to call it, the real world, and you truly are understanding that, like, you're like, all right, these are my dreams, aspirations, goals of the things that I want. And then you realize, like, okay, it's going to be pretty hard to get that, but I still really want it. It's super important to be surrounded by like-minded individuals. So, like, you don't feel, you're like, okay, is this only me? Am I the only one struggling? Like, why am I going through these ups and downs? So that has always been our mission, to connect. And obviously, we do have a special place in our heart for young entrepreneurs as well, because we're super relatable to that. So I think off the bat, it was like easy, quick. And then it was, like Paul said earlier, and what we're learning more and more as we grow in our own entrepreneurial journey as well every day is, as you keep growing and you connect with more like-minded individuals, then it just becomes like fun because we all just want to win, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we shoot different, like Paul just said, he reaches out for someone. If she had something, it's just constant. It's not like, hey, if you do this, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Like, no, it's an ongoing, beautiful, organic, unspoken thing of just people that are looking to get after it, you know? And I think it makes us proud to know that even back then when we were starting, she saw that from the outside and wanted to come to it. And now we still have that brewing and growing and only getting better. So again, we've watched her grow. Paul way earlier, right? But I've watched her grow as a young girl as well as running and owning her own business to now who she is. And what we were just talking about earlier, which we'll get into more, is she's doing it, you know what I mean? She's doing her thing because there's multiple growth and evolution phases along the journey that will make or break you, period. It's not a maybe or if, it's you do these things or you don't. And that is a big point in the pivotal point of an entrepreneur of how bad do you really want this and what are you willing to do to fight and to stand up for that brand and your name and everything that you've created at first as you try to scale and grow, because that is, we can contest to that as well, as the hardest thing in the game. It's growth, leadership, scaling, and maintaining that standard that we created from our hearts and souls at first and that we want to keep expanding throughout. So again, hats go off to you because of where you still are and you're still looking to go. So
talking about the journey now, right? How did the Shoe Fairy start and what truly inspired you? Like what got you to that point?
The Shoe Fairy has very humble beginnings. I started out of my bedroom in my parents' house in a 55+ community.
Right.
Love it.
So as you can see why, when I moved to Freehold, I wanted to surround myself around young, hungry people because I was living in a 55+. The energy was not quite there. But anyway, so what happened was I was competing in bikini competitions in the bodybuilding industry, and that time was very pivotal in my life. I realized I could do things that I never thought I could do. I was listening to Eric Thomas and Les Brown, motivational speakers all the time, and I grew so much as an individual that I was just no longer fulfilled at my job. And I was never an entrepreneur at heart, to be honest, like ever. It never even crossed my mind. It was during this period where I'm like, I want to do my own thing. I was always a leader, though. I never, like my mom will tell you, since I was 2 years old, I was a born leader. It was just a matter of time until I figured it out. And I knew I wanted to start my own company. I loved the industry. I was so passionate about it. I realized how lucrative and growing it was. So it's a matter of like, what is the business going to be? So long story short, I had the idea and I just went to it that day and pretty much never looked back.
So when I remember early on, part of the journey that I always like to you tell often, like in conversation, I've heard you tell it to other people, the transition. So when you were doing this, you were still working, right? You were still in the work world. And where were you at that time? And what was like your transition from there?
Yeah, great question. I was at PSE&G, and a lot of people think, oh, I want to start a business, but I have bills and I can't. I did both, and my hours, I had a very far commute, so my hours were 6 to 3:30. I had to leave my house at 4:45 in the morning, and
talk about getting up early.
And commute, I hated it. But so I started the business at my cubicle, and I would do it on my work computer, and I figured, you know what, if I get fired, well, I guess it's a sign, but like we're just gonna do it. So I made my logo in Microsoft Word, like I drew my website on a piece of paper, sent someone a picture to create the website, and then when I started the business, I was doing both for 3 months, and I mean, I would be working in my car on my lunch breaks, drive home all night until 12. I would cry some nights because I was just so tired. And I knew I had to wake up so early. Like, it was so hard. But
and do something, let me add, something you wasn't even in your heart, right? Like, so I love that part of it. So like you would do what you love all night, go to bed knowing you had to wake up and do something you didn't even want to do to get to what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
And it was like this cycle. I love this.
I couldn't quit both. You know, when I came out of school, I have a lot of student loans, honestly. Kind of messed up there. But, you know, I was still in my parents' bed. The student loans, I had the car payment, all that, and I had to do both. But it was 3 months in, I gave my 2 weeks, because the first month I made $2,000. And then the next month it was $4,000. And then the next month it doubled again. It was $8,000. And I thought, wow, I mean, that's nothing, but it was like, it's doubling. Can you imagine if I had 24 hours to myself to devote to this? Like, what it could be? And I just felt in my heart, I had so much faith in myself and my vision that then I put the 2 weeks in and I went full time on it.
It's funny you say that because most importantly, you believed in yourself in that moment. And that's that doubling, as much as you talk about the numbers, what you're really saying is like, I saw it turn to 4 and then to 8. And I can continue to believe in myself. That just helped me continue to believe in myself and know I'm the only one that I have to bet on. If I doubled it from 2, I could double it to 16 and so on and so on. But outside of the numbers, that is one of the things that along the way, there's never even a question or a thought. So any conversation that I've ever had with you personally has never been like, I'm screwed.
Never.
It's never like we're failing. It's never this is bad. Like any conversation is always on this is the problem.
But I'm figuring
out I might need help with the solution, but this is the problem. Like not like this is the problem and I want you to listen to all this sad stuff about it and feel bad for me and feel sorry for me. Like when I'm listening to you talk and watching it right now, I'm realizing like I've never heard that version of Alexa. If there is that version of Alexa, I don't know. But realistically, I never have, and I'm recognizing that even more so as you speak about it now at the point of your journey you're at.
I have a question off of that though. What for the people, right? What problem does the Shoe Fairy solve, basically? Like explain it. For
my customers?
Yeah. Like just a little more in depth.
So the problem that I solved when I started the business was the idea that gave it to me was no one was known for shoes. So just in general, Instagram is huge for companies and everything, but within the bodybuilding industry, everyone's posting their journey. Everyone's posting it all on Instagram. Especially you do these competitions, you're proud, you worked hard, you're gonna post your stage shots. And what every person does is they tag the companies they use. It's just standard. They tag where their bikini is from, their makeup, their jewelry, their tan, and so on. And I realized, oh my gosh, there's no one for shoes.
Like the whole list of things,
yes,
right? Like
there's no one.
Kind of like a wedding too, like when they say like photographer, this, that, right?
Exactly. Cool. And I said, oh my God, that's the gap. And I love shoes, but like that's the gap. There's no one known on Instagram for shoes. I got my shoes on Amazon, so it was either exotic websites or Amazon. So I said, okay, that was problem 1. Right. I've solved many problems since then. But that was the beginning, and that's where I realized, okay, I'm going to fill that gap. I'm going to be the shoe person. But then in starting that, I realized, okay, my goal has and always been to be the shoe person of the whole industry. If you're competing, you're going to the Shoe Fairy. That's just the standard. And I realized, hold on, when I started this business, I was just buying them wholesale and I was a retailer. And I'm like, wait, I can't be the #1 shoe person if I'm selling the same heels that you can get on Amazon.
Right.
And then furthermore, I realized all of the issues with the heels on the market. So the insoles would get stained and dirty and look disgusting. The plastic on these shoes, so hard. It cuts your toes till they bleed. I'm not even making this up.
Worse than the toe training.
Though as well. Like
yes.
More them, you
the toes, the toe bed is so narrow that your toes hang over like claws. Like there was all these, the quality is horrible. So that, I believe it was like 2017 when I started manufacturing. So I realized, okay, now here's the other problem I'm solving. I'm going to create and design my own heels, and they're going to solve all of these problems. It's going to be the quality, standard, luxury heel of the industry.
Not just like the price or the look, more of like the
functionality,
everything,
performance, like the best of the best. That's what I'm doing.
I love it.
And I remember too, like I love this. It's so true. I remember when you ordered, remember the shipment order? That whole, talk about problems, right? And this girl persistent as can be. My
first order, a year and a half in the making, 1,000 pairs came in and they were all wrong. And I took pre-orders. So we had I want to say I even had like 450 pre-orders for this. And my employee at the time, they came in, we were so excited. She started printing all the labels. So now the tracking went out to 450
that
people.
They were printed already.
We paid for all the labels. I take the shoe, I go to put it on, and my foot didn't fit in it. And I'm like rechecking the size, trying again, and I'm like, no way. So I'm ripping through the boxes, trying them on, and my foot wouldn't go through the plastic. They just, like the plastic shrunk. They didn't do something, and it was so small your foot couldn't fit through.
And how did you feel in that moment?
I was really confused.
You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was panicking. And then I started ripping through the boxes. I realized that a bunch more issues. And the pre-order situation, that was a mess, but whatever, rectified that. And then
But again, real quick, she's running through this like it's just like whatever. But that is, this is who she is. It's like in Jamaica they have a saying, "It's not a problem, just a situation." I love it, right? Yeah. So like that though is her mentality. I want to pause for a second and just show that in the moment. I remember this when it happened. This was chaos. This was like turmoil. This is the moment. There's many moments along the journey for every human being, but in entrepreneurship, when it's all you and it's just you and you're eating and killing only what you get, like these are big moments where you could have given up and quit. Yeah. And you did not, you know. And how long did it actually take to then get that new order? I know you probably remember to get the new order to replace these people who already like
the whole to get that all the holes everything
2 years minimum.
Right?
That was a big setback.
That's a big
because you're talking
setback.
production, like these different were ones that were custom made.
Yes.
Like there's much more.
I opened molds, everything, and so I worked with my agent, and I had an agent in Miami actually that dealt with the factory. 3 months, they kept trying to fix it, and they gave up. Thank God I was working with a reputable company. I got all my money wired back. But now we are we're just shy of 2 years in. And I'm starting from, I don't want to say scratch, but essentially scratch, but I learned a lot. Yeah. So I went back to the drawing board, and a question I get a lot is, how do you do manufacturing? I just Googled it, everything. I don't know how to do anything. So
I love it.
I just went back to Google, you know, I find another company, I submit an inquiry. It's crazy how the stars align. So I find a shoe manufacturer, which mind you, my shoes are clear, transparent heels. They're not regular fashion heels. It's like, it's like very hard. Yeah. It's very rare to do this, So I always have to send people pictures. Can you do this? And one of the women calls me up. Just so happens, so my factory is in China. She, the owner of this company, was in New York City. So she says, yes, we can do it. The next day, this woman got on a bus, shows up at my office building. God. And we went over the project together. She made notes on the shoes, the samples, everything. Timing. We sent it off to her factory, And then I actually spent Christmas in China with them. Wow. I love them. I really do. And I hate that China really does have such a negative stigma. But guys, like everything around you is made in China. Just it is what it is.
Especially
but my shoes, I was there in the factories everywhere, and I have to say, like I'm proud of who I work with. Like
for sure,
it's quality stuff. I actually spend a lot of money for my products.
And an added on thing with that, because I remember this when you're bringing up too. Speaking of timelines, but your interaction with them. Remember how you had to like. The time difference, obviously, of the way that you were communicating. So, like, I'm bringing these things up just because I want to show, like, that, like, and she said it herself, like, she didn't even know what she was doing, but she knew what she wanted.
Yes.
She saw it in her own mind, and then she just said, okay, well, this didn't work. Okay, let me try this. You learn and you keep
figure it out.
You just keep learning from these experiences. But this is it's so organic and real. But that's why we love it. You know, that's why we're glad to have you here today, because it's like it's all it really is. Don't give up.
So canceling out that challenge right there, because it seems to be that potentially that could be if not your biggest challenge within the business along the way. What besides that, say that never happened, what is your biggest challenge day to day inside of the Shoe Fairy? Like what
this is a great
what is something you
question.
overcame, you know?
So I've overcome a lot, but I'm going to give you guys a challenge that I've been struggling with for years, and still to this day trying to figure it out, is that it's very hard when you're growing and scaling a business to work on the business and not get caught up in the business. And I don't think that gets talked about enough.
You're right.
Because also people think you just hire people, and that's great. They do everything. No, it's a lot of work. I actually learned I hate being a boss. I don't like being a boss. Like I can't even ask someone to take the garbage out. It's just something, a character trait in me that I really struggle with, because I realize there's a separation here. Like you can't be friends with everyone. You can't worry about everyone's happiness all the time. Like I exhaust myself with that. And because of that, I'm always way too heavily involved in the business instead of working just on the business. It's very hard to get to that point because you need to build a good, strong team.
I think you don't like being a boss because you're not a boss, you're a leader. You're a true leader. That's the thing. if you're a boss, or whatever my definition of a boss is someone that's telling people what to do, that people are somewhat a little bit fearful of, and that's not you, and that's not who you want to be. You are a leader. So I think that falls into that category. When it comes to working on the business and in the business, this is something that probably for Matt and I over like the last 4 or 5 years or so, we've really honed in on. And it started with understanding that it's not about doing one fully or the other fully. It's about constantly trying to find, because you'll never truly find it, but constantly managing and controlling the balance of both. For many reasons, we'll go on our type of business. I'll kind of give an example from our end. So, obviously we're looking to grow. We're growing a team. We have 12 coaches now, including ourselves, right? So as we grow this team, Matt and I know what we're capable of, right? We know we're capable of doing 100+ sessions a month. We know we're capable of producing in the personal training area, right? But we also know that in order to grow to the compound and to get to the place that we ultimately want to get to, we have to spend time doing other things too, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't mean freeing up our schedule from personal training because, like you said, we just want people to work for us and make us money. No, we want people we want to help people bridge the gap of the length and time it took for us to get to that position, and help them do that while we're using that extra time to work on the business, right? So on the business means things like this, right? Getting networking, connecting with people, taking care of deals on the back end, raising capital, going and dealing with the manufacturing company, whatever it may be. But it's everything outside of your general when the product is delivered or served, right? So what I would tell you is you're not a boss. So if you don't want to be a boss, you're officially not a boss. You're a leader, right? You're a leader. Again, like you said, you never foresee yourself being an entrepreneur because it goes hand in hand, in my book. So it's a beautiful thing. So are you saying that you do feel like that's something that you're still trying to figure out?
Yeah. Well, as we talked about beforehand, I don't have any employees in-house right now. I do have 2 other employees, but they don't work inside. So I'm an e-com company. Like Monday through Friday, we're shipping, we're getting returns, we're getting shipments in. And the reason why I didn't hire again after I did those quote unquote fires, let goes, I don't know what to call it, is because
dismissals.
I was going to move everything over to a fulfillment company, and I thought, great, that gets rid of all of my headaches. Like this huge part of the business I don't have to worry about. Then I realized that's gonna bring on a bunch of new headaches that are very scary. To lose control over such a big operation of my business, I couldn't do it. I didn't feel comfortable with it. So now I'm moving into a bigger warehouse and I'm hiring again, but I'm the one doing everything right now. All of the shipping, the hundreds and hundreds of orders each week, all of the returns, like I'm actually just losing my mind. But it's a period. I know it's not permanent, and I'm working through it just like anything. Like I'm always working through it.
So the best thing that you just said is that you're fully working through it and you're recognizing it. So you got yourself to that point, like if I do make the decision to completely outsource it, and you got yourself in that mode and you didn't like the feeling, and the shoe fairy's heartbeat the best, right? And we go. I'm saying this because like we go through these too. We've gone through them. We're going to continue to go through them, right? But I think the one of the biggest things is now. We talked about this a little pre-show. It's like a relationship, right? So like your employee is someone that you spend hours a day with, that you put energy and effort in. You help elevate and grow. So the reality of it now is you're a little bit scarred in it, for lack of better words, right? You're a little like, I want to either do this myself or hire someone that I don't have to get connected with like that, right? But the answer to me is take your time a little, go through what you're going through now. Put you're a hard worker. You're a hard ass worker no matter what. That's what keeps the heartbeat going, right? Keep putting your head down and doing that, and get back to finding 1, 2 people and build, because what you've learned, some people may take 3, 4 steps back. You already took 1 step back, but you have all your stuff planned out. You don't even realize it. You know that next employee, that next in-house person is going to be the next best hire, and you're going to only help them grow. And you're going to learn from that to, all right, hire next to them. So not one individual in the nicest way possible will ever make or break the shoe fairy in those moments. You know, I think that's key.
100%. I'm going to add a little bit. One of the first recommendation I would give, one of the greatest books that I've read, I say it all the time on leadership, is The Dichotomy of Leadership, which was written by Jocko. But like when he wrote that, when I read that or listened to that book, when he started saying the things, it was like affirming things that I like, what you're going through right now is all these feelings, these thoughts. And then he started saying it in this book, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is what I'm going through right now. But it was cool because he was like giving me clarity, okay? So the dichotomy, which I didn't even know what that word meant, honestly, when it started, right? I was like, okay, I'll read this though, because it was heavily recommended. But I learned the dichotomy is, it's the pull of two extreme opposing forces. So in leadership, that is every single thing that you do. So for example, it's the ability to understand that. And I like to use the word team, and you use that as well. It's not a staff or an employee or like, no, it's a team, and that's the way it should be. But it's understanding that person inside of the team, you want to be comfortable enough with that you could have a great relationship with, but not too comfortable to take advantage of you.
Yes.
Right? And it's the dichotomy is finding that sweet spot.
Both, yep.
Okay? And I think to go deeper than that, with Paul and I have worked through over the past 10 years is the dichotomy of growing the team where in the beginning we were overprotective, like in a good way. We were protecting who we were and what we built, and we were like, no, you can't come in here, like this is ours, because like we were too worried that you were gonna ruin it or taint it, right?
Which is normal.
It is, right?
It's normal for anyone starting a business. It's like your baby.
It's
You're
your
so
baby. No, it really
overprotective.
is, right? And
yes.
From there, though, we got to the point where we were doing so well that we started to need help.
Yes.
So because we waited so long, it put us into a point of like needing it now. So now we're in the jungle, eating only what we kill, and we're getting to the point where we almost have to turn down business because we can't fulfill it. So now we're like, well, what do we do? Well, we need help. So that led us to like almost like rushing for help, and then reaching out to the people that maybe were like, yo, I'll come over and like help out. And we're like, no, we're good. And now we're kind of like, we need help, right? So now we like loosely allowed people in because we needed it, right? So it wasn't bad, but it was probably just, it was more out of like the desire of not wanting to miss out on an opportunity. But what that also did was it diluted our brand along the way. So we went really far one way, really far the other, but you have to go there. Like you said, It's a period, it's a phase, I believe it's important. Like there's a great quote I love that you'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener at war.
Yes.
Okay, and I love that quote because the reality is you almost want to feel all of the things and understand them all and go far, but then dial back and understand where to put each thing. It's like a video game where you have to create your character of who is Alexa, the leader now, right? We're not calling that anymore from this point forward. You're just the leader of the Shoe Fairy movement, of the recreation of the heel from top to bottom, of the way that it looks, the way that it feels, the way that you could perform in it. Like that's who you are now, and you're leading that movement, right? Yes. So now I think that this is something that we could all really help each other off of, and maybe we could start spending some more time working on this, like separately. But the advice now, I would say, it would be to take the step back, like Paul said, and truly put onto paper and create who the Shoe Fairy brand is now, to separate. Something that Paul and I did, which again, shout out to Jack Cole, who has come on through over the past 2 years that it allowed us to create the Relentless brand experience and separate Paul and I from it now. So Paul and I are the speakers, and we uphold the standards, right? We might have to be the guys who do the dirty work or let people go and do that, but we speak on behalf of the movement now. It's bigger than us. Yeah. And that allowed us to separate and create a culture and a core values that stands for who it is. So now when someone comes in, we have a very intricate process that they need to go through for themselves, for us, but also for our team. Because you need fluidity, you need beautifulness in anything in life.
And that process doesn't include us as much as it ever, like a fraction includes us. Initial meeting, bring in, it's put on our entire team, has a role in that process. And like he said, the movement, that speaks for itself. So when it's all said and done, it's not like, hey Matt, what do you think? Like we don't make the final decision. The team, the team and the culture makes the final decision. Getting to that. This is in a you heard him say gangland?
Yeah, and he's over there smiling.
Sons of that. Okay. But it's the way, it's the fluidity. You need that culture.
So getting to that, to the part of like the excitement, the team, the owning your own business type thing. What is it that excites you the most of being your own leader and having controlling your own destiny in a sense?
I think that word right there, control. So I'm not a control freak where I'm actually in the day-to-day very laid back. We could go, I'm not controlling like that, but I'm controlling of my overall life, my situations, my happiness, my destiny.
Yes, love it.
So for me, as long as I need to know that I have that control with things. So what I want for my life, I love to manifest and think about all the things I want, but it's because I know I'm building it.
Right.
So to me, I love being in control of my life like that, but also I love connection with people. So last weekend I went out to Vegas for a women's workshop. I wasn't even supposed to go actually because I have too much on my plate. One of my employees was going. She was set up, had the suitcase full of the things she needed, everything was planned, and then the night before I booked a 24-hour just a flight to go to the workshop because I felt like I needed to just meet my customers in person and get that energy. Wow. I've been feeling very drained.
You went along with her?
Yeah, so we had the same flight, and then she stayed 2 more days. Cool. I had a red-eye home. I literally just went to go there. And it was because I was feeling drained, and I knew that would fill me up. Yeah. So, I cried so many times that day because I don't realize the impact that I have on people just in my doing and the way that I speak, and the girls come up to me and they listen to me on podcasts and they know my story and they're thanking me so much for everything I do in the industry and for these heels and how these heels make them feel so much more confident and all these things, and I would just cry.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, real. But I just needed it. That excites me because I know my purpose in life is far beyond this business and it's far beyond shoes. It's I need to connect with people and empower them and lift them up, and I feel as though that's where my true purpose lies, and that's what excites me is this business ultimately will give me more freedom and more reach to be able to get to my purpose.
Right. You have a good story from the trip. You put something up, right? You posted something. Was I reading it? Was it on yours? Or was it one woman that you connected with or something?
Oh, yeah, well...
Tell that.
So, you know what
I've read the whole thing. So a lot of times I swipe past a lot of shit, but I read the whole thing.
I did a story crying. I went on my Instagram story to record a video saying how I was at the workshop and talking to all these women, and then I started crying, and I was going to stop the story, and I said...
I listened to you. That's what it was. It was on your story.
And I said, no, you know what? I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to actually record myself crying. And and now I'm even going to post this on the Shoe Fairies Instagram story because I want the customers to see how much I truly appreciate them.
But wasn't there a photo of you connecting with her?
It was me and a girl. We took a selfie smiling together after we both cried. I don't know why. Now it's going to make me cry again. So this girl, now I don't even remember what she said, but she came up to me and she had the most kind words to share with me of how I've inspired her, and I started to cry, and then as she's talking, she started crying, and she looks at me and goes, I don't even know why I'm crying. And I said, wow, but what a moment that we're having together. And this is why I'm here. You don't get this over Instagram, over email, or anything like that. So then the person who put on the event is actually one of the top people in the entire industry. She's one of the big dogs. So when we were putting our stuff in the table the night before, I couldn't believe that she was so excited to meet me and saying, everyone knows the Shoe Fairy. I'm like, what? Hearing that coming from your mouth, that's crazy. Wow. So she came over to talk to me, and ironically, when she was giving her speech in the beginning of the event, she cried. So I'm like, okay, I feel validated. I'm crying today. So she comes over, we're talking, and I start telling her more about myself, the company, my story. I start crying, and then she starts crying again. So then she says to me, this is what we need. I need you to speak at the next one. And I was so honored because, again, I feel like that is where my purpose lies.
Sure. I love
it. If I hadn't been there, that opportunity would have never presented itself.
I always go back to, I've mentioned in a couple podcasts on the whole crying topic of things. Jimmy Valvano, who every year he was a college basketball coach, I believe for Rutgers, and then one of the championship teams. UNLV possibly, or whatever it was. He was a prominent college basketball coach. He had cancer, and they were at the ESPYs, and they told him, you're going to get you're going to have this amount of time because everything's controlled and organized. You're going to have this amount of time to speak. So to start off, he was out of time and he looked at the camera and he's like, I got tumors all over my body. I'm dying right now. I'm not going to stop talking, but I'm going to leave you off with this. And he says, there's 3 things that I want to encourage everyone to do every day. It's to love. To laugh. So to have moments of true laughter, right? To think, to be deep into thought at some point, intentional thought, right? And to cry. And everyone looks at him like, cry? What do you mean, to be sad? He goes, no. To have your emotions from positive things that you do, which is the example you're giving, that you are moved to tears of joy and happiness. And that, he goes, those are the 3 most important things that I live by, and I want everyone, and they replay the speech every year, I want everyone to live by this moving forward, or bring this into their life, So that was one thing that always stuck with me. So when I hear these moments, I'm not someone that says, oh my God, they're crying, that's so sad. It's like that woman that was running this whole seminar, this whole event, right, which was probably there was thousands of people there.
They had a cap at 300.
Right, so hundreds of people that were there that are in Las Vegas, in another state, and she's crying. But that's joy, and you and this woman meeting. This is great stuff. This is stuff that we need to show more and celebrate more and be happy about, and it's all good, And listen, obviously I'm the female, and it's a little bit easier, but I think the same thing when you'll see it now, and even in sports. The other day, the Bengals wide receiver was in tears after they won. They were going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. That's all good. Like that. That's cool. Like it's happiness. You
have so much passion inside of you that it's got to come out.
100%.
That's what it means.
No,
I love it.
It's true. We talk all the time how emotional we are too. Like, it's funny because people wanted to put that at the top of the list when you maybe think on the surface, but the reality is that it's emotion / passion. I like the word that you use, right? It's like such deep passion. I have moments now more than ever, especially early. I have a very serious, in-depth priming process where I get up very early to prepare myself, and it allows me to go into those, it's like a flow state, I call it, of thinking.
Yes.
And I'm deep. And I've had more moments. So coming from anxiety my whole life, I used to get these moments of almost like a shiver, of anxiety. It's like a body, like when it's real, you feel like taking over physically, right?
I know
You're
exactly what you mean.
Right. So those have had taken place a lot throughout my life. And as of the most recent, I get those feelings now more than ever, but off of like I feel like everything that we've worked for and put our head down and everything that we've done, it's like it's becoming reality. So like I'm having more moments of just like emerged passion and emotion in the mornings than I've ever had, because I feel like it's coming together, like it's real, and like I could truly feel it, you know what I mean? And like I could say this to everyone here, and I want everyone to feel those things, because like it doesn't just have to, it could be for anything, but like the feeling is almost the same, but it's the perception of how you're perceiving it in the moment. And if people could understand more about like how you speak, like manifestation, right? Because that's what life should be. Like you said earlier, you're either working in the business or on the business. There's another great saying of you're either working, you're running, you should always be running 2 businesses as well, the business you are and the business you're becoming. And that's another thing that you need to think, because you have to put 2 different hats on in 2 different places. So I think, but that's manifestation at its finest. And I think if you could find a way to go deep into your mind and find deep thought, and then truly search inside of yourself of what it is that you want in the end, then you could come back out of that and be like, okay, now I have intent behind every day, behind my actions, behind my words, behind these interactions. And then they start compounding. Then you have interactions like with this woman, right? Because then you start meeting people, and it's a feeling of like, I know what that feels like too, right? And that's, I think, the beauty that we understand. You understand, the people around us that we want to keep bringing inside of the community, because it could go for any circumstance in all of life, of just knowing what it is that you want, and then knowing it's going to be hard as shit to get it, but you're going to overcome any obstacle that stands in the way. And I think that's how you build that confidence, that growth, all of those things for you to walk in and be like, yeah, I am the chauffeur, I am changing the game. Like, not in a bad way, but like, it's me, like I'm the one, and I love every bit of it. I'm humble and confident, but like, I got everybody. Like, I got the solution for everyone too. So it's like this beautiful feeling of evolution and growth as a human.
Do you do priming because of Tony Robbins?
Of course.
Yeah. I just was listening to a thing where he talked about it, and he said, go to, for anyone listening, TonyRobbins.com/priming, and you have 7 steps. 1, sit. 2, breathe. And like, he actually has, 7 or 8 steps of how to do the priming, and I like literally just over the past week started it. So when you just said that priming in the morning to get in deep thought, I go, it's definitely Tony Robbins.
And just to pull again, and it's you could do it in its simplest form, and just pulling little things from it. You know, I like to. I was on a call yesterday with one of our Relentless Way members, and just video comments on Florida. So I was one-on-one talking with them, and that's something we're trying to do because we're talking about how that sets the tone for your day.
Yes.
But it's little things. So in the grand scheme of things, he's like, oh, you know, that's an hour and a half, do this, do that. I said, no. Remember, for you could start simple. It could be just a half hour dedicated before the sun rises, before all the noise starts coming into your life of 10 minutes of 3 different things. Maybe it's a 10-minute stretch, then maybe it's a 10-minute mode of thinking, then it's a 10-minute release, you know, get yourself going, whatever it is. But in the simplest form, like you said, you know, he is diligent and has been awesome, even relaying it to our team in the way that he does. And again, he has his own mix up too.
Yeah.
A couple episodes he talks about the depths of what he does, a little bit of, you know, Tony's ideas, but what things that he likes to do, you know, from boxing to juggling to stuff like that. So that being said, what we're really connecting with here is that, like, entrepreneurship, leadership, business, it becomes our life, right? So it is our life, right? It's our livelihood, for lack of better words, but it's different than other people's livelihoods because other people go and punch the clock, they come home, and it's a lot easier in some situations to be separate from their life, from their loved ones, from their families, from their friends. It's easier to shut the computer down, walk out of the office, and separate it all. So one of the last questions that I want to leave off with, and I really, really want to hear your end of this because I know what kind of family and what kind of core you come from, is what is the impact and how much does that play a role of the people that you surround yourself with, from your loved ones to your family to your friends?
So what impact do they have on you?
Yeah, like what has, you know, I know your father specifically, your mother and your father, but your father specifically has always been there for you, which it's obviously easy to say, but there's people that don't have that, you know? So what has starting with your family, what is the people that you surround yourself with, how have they impacted you in your life, and what lessons have they taught you, or how has that been a positive thing for you, you know?
So I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs or anything like that. Actually, my family is a lot more traditional.
Right.
So I really, like, the lifestyle I live is very different than the rest of my family's. And I kind of broke the mold with that. So I didn't have anything to go off of when I started, actually. My family is my heart and soul, and they're amazing because they're my support system. I know that no matter what, if I fall, if I get crumbled, they're there for me. So they're like my backbone. But as far as when it comes to business, I don't talk to them about it that much, to be honest. Like, when I'm with my family, like, I talk here and there, but I don't really talk to them about it too much because they're not really going to understand the inner workings, and I just don't, it's just not the convos I want to have with them. So when I started this business, I remember feeling like it was always like I was in a dark room walking into walls. Like, I didn't know how to figure things out, and I didn't know who to go to. So when I would listen to podcasts, I would listen to things on YouTube and learn externally. And then when I moved to Freehold, I reached out to you guys. I remember specifically having a talk outside with you, Paul, about employees. How do I pay them?
Payroll.
Payroll. What do I do?
I remember when we had the yoga studio going, we were talking in there about connecting with payroll and all that stuff. So I had to search for it and search for the answers, and then Clean Bar was in Freehold. I reached out to them and said, hey, I own this company, the Shoe Fairy. I would just love to talk about business and connect. Like, can I come in? Had no idea who was even behind the business. And I walk in there, it was Kayla with 2 other girls at the time. They had no idea, like, what my intentions were. I remember we always joke about this. They thought I was there, like, trying to, like, snoop around or something. I'm like, hey, listen, like, I'm here to talk about, like, shoes and stuff. Like, and then we really hit it off, and she became like a mentor to me, and we kept connecting, and I would go, like...
If anyone doesn't know who Kayla is, she was on our podcast as well, interview. Great girl. We all go back with her as well, but just badass girl in the space.
Amazing human. And I had to search for that. So even with friendships, a lot of my friends from college, I don't ever talk to them about business either. One, they don't ask. And, for a while that bothered me too. I thought my friends never supported me. It upset me. I felt like strangers on Instagram support me more, which still to this day I feel that way. Right. And that's normal too. You hear about it all the time. So what I have to do with people and connections is intentionally look for the right connections and put my energy and time there. When it comes to family or when it comes to people that aren't in this world or this mentality mindset, I don't talk about it too much. I talk about other things.
And it's not their fault either.
It's not their fault.
That's the part you're getting to now.
You just need to realize self-awareness, with and awareness of other people, like who you can talk to, what.
Right.
Wait.
And what you said, you did say that it used to bother you almost a little bit, right? So to me, that's evolution. Like, that makes me proud because there was another moment where you could give up or break or say, this isn't for me. Why isn't everyone, are you okay? How you doing? Like, it ain't about that, because now you realize what you just said. You personally, for your own well-being and goodness, you don't want to go talk to people who don't get it anyway. Because it just kind of it isn't right anyway. So it's like, now you're in a position where you'd rather, like you used the great word, intentfully go out and search for people that get it.
Yes.
And then you could have other relationships. You could just have fun and love and be exciting and silly with your family and have fun and enjoy like life.
Yes.
That's fine. Then you could have certain friends that, I'm sure that's interesting too. We could even dive a little deeper into that. Like, do you still have all the same friends? Do you have some friends? Do you have completely new friends? Like, do you find yourself minimizing a little bit and really being, I like you to use the word selfish, but in a positive way, of how you prioritize and delegate your time, because time to me is the greatest glue of it all.
I'm a lot more selfish with my time, but we could rephrase that to being like that's a form of self-care.
Yep.
Yes. 100%.
So my time right now, I mean, even tonight, like this has just been a week from crazy week from hell for me, and so for tonight, I don't want to go give my energy or time to anyone else because I need it for me.
For you,
I need to go, I'm going to go to the gym and get a foot massage because that's what I need. It's like selfish, but it's self-care at the same time. So I have a lot of the same friends, yes, but I have minimized my time with them. And what really, because when I'm giving my time to someone, I want to leave and feel full. I want to feel full and good. So I'm even intentional with who I'm going to give my time to because I want to have good conversation. I don't really like small talk. I like to get deep, honestly. And it's just how I am, and not everyone is like that. So I'm super intentional with who I'm going to hang out with, who I'm going to give my time to. And now it's actually one of my intentions for this year is saying no more. If I don't want to go to something,
say no.
It's all good.
Honestly, I'm not going.
Great job. That's like
just
a real
PSA to everyone this year. So like, if I bail and dip out, like it's not you, it's me.
I love it though. That's a huge part of leadership and growth. They talk about that a lot. Like one of the lessons is learning how to say no in a way of nothing, like you just said. It has nothing to do with anyone else, but you are choosing to stop for a second and not be like, well, I feel bad. Like, no, like, because let's also say that you also want to be your best self. So you're almost like you'd rather be picky and choosy, and maybe you only see me once or twice a year now, but when you see me, I'm present. I'm there. I'm working. We're having fun. So instead of seeing me 10 times, where most of the time I'm just kind of like chilling because I'm in my own world and head anyway, I would rather just stay home now and take a bath or chill or take a nice, and just relax and think and work through my thoughts and do self-care, treatment, massage, like things of that nature that fill you, so that when you do go out to be whichever hat it is that you're going to apply, whether it's personal Alexa with family, professional Alexa with business, or personal again with your friends and whatnot like that, but either way, you're going to be the best version of Alexa in that moment because you are full first before you pour.
That's my favorite quote, is that you can't pour from an empty cup.
True.
So it's super important to make sure that you are filling your own cup so that you have room to give to other people.
For sure. I think that, I believe we asked this question to almost all of our guests, like in a similar way, like network who you surround yourself with. And that was one of the most simplified but best answers that I've heard. Just because it's controlled by you, so like it's intentional. It wasn't just like I make sure I surround myself with good people. They give me this. It was like in like Matt said, in like a selfish way, but a positive selfish way. It was like, no, like I understand what roles my mother, my father, my family plays, and especially when you said like, I don't want to or need to talk business with them.
Yeah.
Certain moments that maybe things that affect my business, if I need this done or this, I need a helping hand with certain things, they're there for you and there's no questions asked, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I love the most. And to relate to you a little bit too, we could also say like that is always a constant battle, because even in the now, like you have moments where you're like, you maybe feel the need to explain yourself, to talk about your business. But I think I know collectively, Matt and I, we talk about this all the time. We've done a better job of understanding our audience and knowing that like, we don't owe anybody anything. Like we're doing this for us anyways. So we're going to be selfish in that moment. And like, we don't have to explain to certain people, to this person, to that person, how our business is going and this and that. If we are wasting energy and time explaining that, like you said, our cup isn't full enough for ourselves. We're not taking care of ourselves enough. So, great answer. Beautiful conversation overall. Kind of to wrap it up a little bit. One thing I do want to hear on the simpler end is, what other things do you offer with you do shoes too, but I know, isn't there other stuff? Don't you do like, is there anything you've added on and grown outside, like not outside, but like along with the business? Like you do like jewelry and things like that too, right?
Yeah, good question, because it's not that simple. I'll answer it simple, but I've learned a lot from this. So right now we do have jewelry and accessories, like necessary add-ons, some little things. Yeah. But I have tried a lot of things. I even tried years ago fashion shoes, and I marketed as for the fit and fab, because my thought process was, every woman needs obviously heels to wear out and da-da-da. I just recently actually did a whole overhaul where I like looked over my entire 2021, and I'm like, what is worth it? Right. And I cut out all the merchandise, the clothing, cut out all the slides, like clearanced a bunch of shit, because I'm like, I need to just focus more on the bread and butter. Yeah. Sometimes we're trying so much to get here, and then when you actually, like, let's look black and white, you look at the numbers, well, they weren't even selling, and then I had to clearance it, and it literally, or like a bunch of them were defective, and I just donated it or something. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, stop trying to like throw stuff to the wall to see what's gonna stick. Like, once you have figured out what the bread and butter is, focus on that.
I love it.
So cool. Jewelry is great though. So I do have jewelry, and then we have some shoe add-ons, like different inserts and the robes that you wear with your tan, but that's it.
I love that you recognize that. I mean, hey, listen, like you said, if number one, the people, you know your clientele, you know your customers, you know your people. So if they're not grabbing onto it, why waste your energy on it and your money and your time,
Listen,
so,
guys, beautiful. let's just end that topic on this. You don't need to do and have it all.
Right, I love it.
And I think we all need to remember that sometimes. Like, we don't need to sell all of the things. I can't tell you how many times people come to me, well, what about men's something or like, no.
So on our end, right, it's always like,
what about
and we've tried certain things. You've watched us, like you said. We go through those same things. You should do a yoga thing. You should do this thing. You should do that thing. You should add a running group. You should but we're gonna stick to what we're good at.
Yes.
And what delivers in all different ways. What fulfills our. Listen, if there's a coach that is great at it and they love it, hey, we'll go that way for our style of business. But at the end of the day, like you said, like we don't have to do all this, and we learned that years back, and we've really stuck to that. And you see the difference in quality of your bread and butter and of your main product too.
Well, and usually where people come most of the time out of good intent, I will say that. But like a lot of times, it's much easier. It's like Monday morning quarterbacking, right? Yeah. And you're just like, really, like,
should have done this. You should have done that.
You should have. And you're like, really, but like. That's where you learn to separate yourself, and like that's where you start. I call it editing conversations.
Yeah.
Right. Like I really, really pick and choose who I'm talking to about what, and then I can very easily now shift. You have a conversation. Most people, the easy shift is just to keep talking about them, and they'll just stay there. Like, and they'll just be there. That's cool, and I'll just be there, and like that's it. Like we don't need to talk about.
And then they'll forget about it, and they'll come again and talk about them a week later.
And it's true though, because in the beginning we tried. So in the beginning for us, we were like really thick-headed, know-it-all, and like we didn't want to hear nothing from nobody because we're like, you don't know nothing, right?
You don't know.
You don't get it, right?
Yeah.
So then you go through a period where like some of the things that people were saying, like we really started recognizing, we're like, they're right. Like we were making little mistakes. So those moments we had to create systems. So for like a simple example of like a program being done when it's supposed to and it not being there, right? So we're like, what'll be there when we put it there. But the reality is, when we promised a service, that it should be there. So, like, is the person wrong and we're just being thick-headed, testy boys? Yes. So let's step back, and now let's create a system that holds the product accountable to be in the folder when it's supposed to. And let's do the right thing and not and just own it and fucking eat it. Ooh, I'm sorry. And eat it and know that we're wrong in that moment. So then it's come to the point where then we started listening a little bit more. And now it's like, listen, we'll listen to everybody. I'm not going to go out of my way for it. I'm open to anything, but I take it all in, and I've created a filtration system. It doesn't affect me. I'm not emotionally invested anymore. It's what is the greatest solution for the problem. And if it's not my answer, but it happens to be yours and you're right, and we take your idea and make it relentless, cool. Then we're winning. Then we're the best, because we're giving you, the people, what you desire and what you need and what you want, and we're solving problems. That's what we're all doing. Like, that's what we're all trying to do, is solve the problems better than everybody else, right? So there is the glory of, again, the dichotomy of understanding how to take criticism and how to take these things, but then also, like you're saying, along the way, how to stay in your lane and not feel obligated to go this way, that way, this way, that way, and just stay true to yourself and what you believe in. So,
it's
well
a process,
said.
Though. It's a learning process.
Cool. Well, a lot of good stuff for those that are listening or on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, and those that are taking the time. We thank you watching on YouTube. Alexa, thank you for taking time out of your busy week, day in your schedule early in the morning like this. I know time that you're capable of using, but maybe it's not the world you normally live in. So we appreciate that. We appreciate you taking this time. And of course, I know the listeners are gonna love hearing what they hear, and it's just our listeners again to go and they come to the Relentless Way podcast for positive perspective, for other perspective. And a lot of our listeners are our members, our network, our friends and family, and people, all friends and family of our team, and they listen in and they come back with great stuff, and we'll fill you in when they do, because I'm sure they will. But it's for the perspective. So at minimum, we were able to we exceed that. Thank you for opening up your mind, your business, your speaking out on everything. We really appreciate it.
Oh, I love it. This stuff fills my cup.
Yep, hell yeah. So again, for those want to listen in, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Music, and watch on YouTube, tell us where you are. If people that want to check you out and follow your journey and just get that good energy off of you on your social sites and anywhere we need to be.
My personal Instagram is at Alexa Stimp, and the Shoe Fairy is at the Shoe Fairy _. The website is in both bios. The link is in bio. Yep. Google the Shoe Fairy. It's pretty easy. Yeah, hit up those social pages and you'll find your way through to anything. She's got it all set up. Always good content. Her personal page is awesome. She's always not afraid to share perspective and stuff. And the more I think about it, like, it's just one of those natural things you do. Obviously Instagram has a way of throwing people in front of us that we follow a lot, but it's just all good positive stuff. It's never someone that you want to turn off. I'll tell you that. So thanks again, everyone. Keep sharing. Keep sharing these episodes, keep sharing our show with people that you think that could benefit from it. We're doing this to go back to episode number 1 of season 1. We're doing this to make sure we're always connected with our community and our people, and to bring positive perspective and energy to the day. 100%.
I want you to leave our people with something. I want you to talk to Alexa in the moment of working that job and looking to create that next step. And it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. It just needs to know that where you are in this moment is okay, but not enough. And when you made that decision to want more for yourself, so anyone could just want more inside of their life, but what would you say to her in that moment now, looking back? Speak to our people for that. Like, give them something to just leave us off with. But again, thank you so much for this. What would you say to Alexa in that moment? What, back then? Yep. What would I say to myself back then? I don't need to encourage myself. I don't need to say, you got this. Like, I always knew that all along. So that was never the issue. I think what I would say to myself is, you're on the right path.
You are in every part of the journey exactly where you need to be. So relax and have patience. Because the thing is, I'm very impatient, but because I know what I want.
Right.
So the thing is, like, I like to control things because I know I can get what I want. But there are a lot of things. You gotta let time play out. You gotta stop being so impatient. You're always where you need to be, because no matter what you go through or what I've gone through, it makes me better, it makes me sharper, I'm growing through it. So just remember, like, you're always where you need to be. Be a little bit more patient.
Love it. Thank you.
Well
Attack
said.
the day. Get after it. The Relentless Way. Episode number 2, season 3.
Let's keep getting it.
Cool.